Hello, hello. Thanks so much for tuning in to today's episode of Career Conversations. I'm your host, Unica Walcott, and today my guest is Lasheena Williams. She is the Chief Enthusiast Officer at Nonprofit Enthusiast, and I'm very, very excited to have you here. Thank you, Lasheena.
Thank you so much for having me today. I'm honored to be on the show.
Well, look, I'm glad you said yes to my invitation. Thank you. Want to jump right into the chat with you. What does your family think you do when they tell you you're the Chief Enthusiast Officer at Nonprofit Enthusiast?
So they know that I do something in nonprofits, and I kind of leave it right there. Interestingly, I started my nonprofit journey a while back, but as far as doing my master's in nonprofit management, I did that in 2011. They kind of understood what I did, but didn't quite get the full grasp of it. I was working for a youth development organization. They always mixed up which organization I worked with. Eventually, I went over to the county, and they're like, they knew that I worked at the county. What I do, they couldn't explain it. But I feel like when I launched Nonprofit Enthusiast, they got it a little bit more. They at least know anything nonprofit. They're like, yep, Lasheena's the one you want to speak to. So they're still getting it, but for the most part, they know it's nonprofit, the nonprofit arena.
Well, that's good. So could you tell me a little bit more about what you actually do so that people who aren't familiar can understand?
So I am the Chief Enthusiast Officer for Nonprofit Enthusiasts. We are a consulting firm that provide full services to nonprofit organizations. We provide them with resources, education, motivation, and support. So we are here for our nonprofits to support them in various areas. We do things from if they're a newer nonprofit organization, we help them start their 501c3. If they're older, we might be helping them through their strategic planning process, their fund development process. We are a one-stop shop for nonprofits. So a lot of time when organizations come in and work with us, they're here. It's a relationship, and we're working with them for the long term.
Okay, so you're like from cradle to grave, so to speak. It's if you want to start your 501c, you can get your paperwork filed. You walk people through that process all the way through. We need grants. We need more funding. We've got a program in place that needs to be re-envisioned and strategized against the budget, that sort of thing.
Correct. Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. So tell me, what is your favorite part about being the Chief Enthusiast Officer?
Being here and being able to support organizations. I like to say that working with nonprofit enthusiasts, I'm able to help people. So we're helping organizations expand their reach. So that's one of the best feeling. I love it. We just had a client who wrapped up a fundraising effort where they were raising money for sickle cell, those impacted by sickle cell. And just to be able to be a part of that, and with so many other missions that we're a part of, and we're able to kind of reach the community through those that we support, uplifting them in their nonprofit journey.
That sounds really exciting. So, what did you want to be when you grew up, or what did you want to do when you grew up?
So I know, like in high school, I wanted to be a psychologist. So I did my undergrads in psychology. And then during that time, a new program in nonprofit management came to the University of Central Florida, is where I came to the school. So I did the certificate. And at that time, I was working in the nonprofit arena, and I just wanted to be able to do more. So when I graduated with my undergraduate in psychology, I ended up going off and continuing with my master's in nonprofit management. Instead of going for continuing in psychology, I kind of took that turn and went into nonprofit management.
So what grabbed you about nonprofit management that maybe didn't stick for psychology for you?
I just always knew I wanted to be able to help on a larger scale. So doing that through nonprofit management, I was able to work in positions that allowed me to do that as administrators. At one point, I was a funder, supporting the nonprofit arena, and now founding my own consulting firm. So I always knew I wanted to do something more, and nonprofit was that arena for me. I was always intrigued. Like I sleep, eat, and breathe nonprofits. Like when I'm not, like my hobby is I'm either volunteering somewhere. I also have a nonprofit organization of my own. So I understand the journey that a lot of our nonprofits go through. So I'm able to kind of help support in that way as well.
Well, that's awesome. You mentioned you have a
Mm-hmm.
nonprofit of your own. Could you tell me a little bit about
Mm-hmm.
that and when you started it?
Yep. So the nonprofit that I founded it back in 2011 when I was also doing my master's in nonprofit management. And what was happening is while I was in school learning the concepts, I was able to apply them to my own nonprofit organization. So it's Love Our Youth, Love Outreach to Value and Empower Our Youth. And that stemmed from me working in the youth development arena. I just remember being playing so much different roles. I was helping in the arts. I was helping in chorus in those type of areas, which I didn't have that. I should say I wasn't an expert in those areas. And I was like, what if there was an organization that can come in and just provide these resources so these youth professionals can focus on the students and what they do on a day-to-day basis. And then this organization comes in and make it easier for them. So that's what we do at Love Our Youth. We believe in the collective impact model where we're much stronger together. So we're bringing the corporate community together, the youth community together, the nonprofit community together. We're bringing all these different sectors together, and we're playing in our strengths so that we can have a larger impact on the community. So our role at Love Our Youth is in this model is the backbone. So we're like the glue. So it's like when you have a potluck party, everyone's bringing the different dishes to that party, but then there's that host. So we serve as that host, that glue, to make sure everyone's fulfilling their roles.
Oh, that's awesome. So it sounds like from 2011 onward, you've just been immersed in the nonprofit space. What skills and qualities do you think are really important to be effective in this space?
So I will definitely say you have to have a passion for what you're doing. And that's one of the things when I went in the arena, I remember telling my husband, I was like, it was two options I had. I could have followed the money and went into a whole nother, sector, or my heart. And when I was torn between those two, I wanted to follow my heart. And it's the most fulfilling thing. I feel like from following my heart, everything else came, everything else as far as all the needs that I never had to want for anything because everything came because of following my heart. So I would definitely say you have to have a passion for the work because it's not easy, and I spend a lot of days inspiring founders of organizations to stay in, keep going, don't stop, don't give up. The hardest part is getting started. So I would definitely say making sure that you have a passion for it. And from there, you're able to go and pursue the education and get the experience in the arena. And those were two things that I believe helped me in this sector, is not only going to school for my master's in nonprofit management, but also being able to apply it in the real world.
So, from the standpoint of schooling, how beneficial was that? Do you think there was a time where it was more beneficial to attend since you had hands-on experience, or do you think it would have been better to have waited? Some people have different thoughts about when you should go back for credentials.
I am so glad that when I finished my undergraduate, I kept going, because honestly, that was advice that I received, and I'm glad that I did, because after you get out of school, it's hard. Like, other things start to fill your schedule. Um, so I mean, going, you know, right after I was done with right after I was done with school was, I feel like, one of the best decisions. And I do feel like it was beneficial in my career, because a lot of the positions that um I had the opportunity to be in, I was not necessarily qualified for it yet.
Oh,
Um
yeah.
yeah, so it was kind of like but I continue to be in school, and between this, I think what allowed me to have those positions, I believe, is the schooling and the experience doing it at the same time. So while I was in undergrad, I was working in the field. So the jobs that I was taking, the entry level jobs, were jobs that supported what I wanted to do. And I believe doing those two things was just the perfect mix to provide me with the opportunities that I've had throughout my career.
Well, that's awesome. Um, did you have any really good mentors along the way? And what was that experience like?
Oh yeah, I had amazing mentors. When I came off to school in 2006, at that organization that I was working with, that's where I met. I call her my Orlando mom because I was 18 years old. I moved up here, and she literally, although she was my supervisor, she took me under her wings. So she
Oh,
provided me with opportunities that I otherwise would not have, and it it's she instilled a lot in me that I also find myself doing for others. So I to this day I continue to get interns in both of my organization with the consulting firm and on a nonprofit side. Try to encourage them, provide direction, the support that I had. I always say, coaches need coach. Even coaches need coaches. So no matter where you are in your career, you always need that support system there. And I also like to say that I give because someone gave to me. So that's something that I continue to do. I believe in mentorship. I believe everyone should mentor and get mentored. You're never too far in your career to have a mentor. It's just so helpful to learn from someone who's been where you've been.
I agree. Mentorship is super important. So, what advice would you give to someone who's a mentee trying to make the most of their mentorship relationship? What are some key things you would suggest?
Um, Value that mentor because and I think that's something because you can you want to value the time of that mentor because a lot of mentors, they don't have the time to give to you, but if they see that you're working hard and you're really applying what they're learning, they will give that time to you. So I say, as a mentee, just valuing the skill set and the time that a mentor is able to provide you. And I think that's something that I did then, like, I welcomed hearing no and also being corrected. Because there was times that I know I'm not a perfect person, and even my mentor, she would like kind of, she'll say no, but then she'll also show me this is the correct way, or if there's something like I know I really messed up, I'll go to her and I'll be like, look, this happened, and she'll just kind of like, no, you could do it, you could get through it, sort of thing. So being okay with hearing that, learning from your mistakes, and then your mentor may tell you things that you might not want to hear, just being open to hearing some of those things.
Yeah, they may tell you, look, you've got the wrong attitude and approach to this, and you got to be willing to receive that so you
Mm-hmm.
can make the right pivots.
Yep.
That's
That's
awesome.
so true.
So we talked a little bit about the fact that you kind of did your master's degree and undergrad simultaneously while launching your career. What advice would you give your 10-year-old self?
Just keep going. Because honestly, even now, because I left my full-time job, and it's been a year now since I've left. And if you
Congratulations.
asked me, thank you. If you asked me like 5 years ago, or even like 3 years ago, I would have told you no. Like, it's not happening. I don't see myself doing that. I saw myself becoming, when I did enter the nonprofit sector and kind of had clarity as to where I wanted to be, I saw myself becoming an executive director for a large nonprofit organization. Like, that was my path. Um, so I would just say, like, be open. I would tell my 10-year-old old self to be open and just keep going and just take advantage of the opportunities that come before me, because some of them may not be necessarily how you see it, but it all plays a role in your journey.
That's awesome. What are some of the opportunities that you've taken along the way that have helped you to be prepared for your current role as Chief Enthusiast Officer?
I've done various. One thing is, I've been fortunate to have the opportunity to work in different portions of nonprofits. So whether that's developing strategic plans, implementing volunteer processes, I've had the opportunity to work in these different areas, and a lot of them, my job descriptions did not require me to do.
Ah,
Meaning I went into the career, they said this is what you're gonna do, but I've always, strive to take it beyond that. Um, One, because I believe, when my name is attached to something, there's always, like, I believe in quality and giving the best. Even if I'm learning along the way, like, I'm gonna learn and give the best, and no matter what I do. So that's something that I did along the way, is kind of, any position that I'm in, I try to take that position further. They may say, hey, you're coming in, you're overseeing this large program, and your goal is just to maintain. And I'm like, no, maintaining is not my nature. You know what I mean? No,
So look, I can't do the status quo. We're going to find ways to elevate this.
Exactly. So then, I'll go in, look at the processes, and then see how we can improve what we're doing. And so a lot of the positions that I've been in, there have been innovative, like, programs, or each of them are a little bit different, but there's been things that's been birthed out of, having that mindset of just giving more.
So we talk about your mindset of elevation and giving more. How do you foster that and keep yourself motivated?
I guess what keeps me motivated is seeing the fruits of a lot of what I've done. And a lot of time you don't see it instantly. Even when I was in the working heavily in the youth development arena, sometimes my students won't come back. Like, those that I was working with, I won't hear about, their successes until 5-10 years down the road. Then they're like, here's my baby, and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And I'm like, some of them are not instant. They are not instant at all. But there were those little wins that you got along the way that kept you motivated. Like, okay, they did it. I remember one of the mentees I was working with, there was a scholarship opportunity that was there for him, and he did not want to apply for it. And I literally was like, you're not going. That's you? Oh, gosh.
Not always, but like, I can think of times where, like, I've had mentors like hand me stuff, like, you're going to apply to this and don't tell nobody, this is for you. And I go, I ain't doing that. It's like, no, you're not an option.
Man, exactly. So that's where I was, like, in that space. And I remember coming 2 days back to back. We were there, and I was like, did you do it yet? No. And I was like, okay, you're not leaving here today until you do it. I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, you're not leaving until you do it. And then he did it. He got the scholarship, and it was that around that time was when I'm trying to think of the name of it. The NBA All-Stars was here in Orlando. So this scholarship was all tied to this. So not only did he get the scholarship, he got to go meet the players. He got to do all, so it's like those moments was, those are wins for me. I'm like, yes, okay.
That's a huge win. And you said, look, yes, I'm not taking your no. Your no is not acceptable. I need you to kind of see around the corner with me and trust me as your mentor.
Yes. I'm like, one thing I said to him, I remember saying to him, is like, you might be the only one that applies, which he wasn't. But it's like, sometimes you don't know. It's just like, give it a try. What's a couple hours, and he got the opportunity. So it's those moments that happen. I have many stories like that happen along the way that keeps me motivated. I don't know. It never has been about me. It's about those that I serve. So when I see that those type of things happen, those are the things that keep me motivated in the sector and want me to keep, inspires me to continue to elevate, to be able to help more people.
So you were very much motivated by other people's success and supported people in their wins. It sounds like you were in the perfect role as a chief enthusiast officer.
Thank you.
It definitely takes that kind of person to cheerlead, to pull people through when they're like, I don't know what I'm doing. And they're like, ugly crying in the car. and you show up like, look, I got you.
Like, come on, let's go.
Yep. So awesome. Let's see, we talked a little bit about your studies. We talked about what motivates you and keeps you going. What do you do to relax and unwind?
What's that? For me, sometimes it's me going for my weekly, going for my manicure, pedicures, and I try to sneak them in when I can. Spending time with family. I'm big on building memories. So a lot of my relaxation happens through building memories. It might not necessarily be like a break, but it might be going somewhere and that we've never been before with the family, or so I like to build memories. So for me, that's my break time, is going out and building memories.
So what are some of your most precious and favorite memories you've built over the years?
Well, recently, the family and I, we were able to drive up to Virginia to go see my sister, who husband is in the military, and that was memorable because it was we drove up from Florida to Virginia. It was an 11-hour drive. My
A long
dad,
drive.
my stepmom, yeah. So we all, my husband, we all were there, and that was memorable because I was just even thinking about like my dad. We haven't been on a trip like that, like on a road trip like that, since I was probably in middle school. So just
Oh,
taking that drive and being in the car, for that while, that meant a lot. So that was like that memory, because we haven't done it in a while, and for us to be able to spend that time with each other. And then we landed at my sister, and we're able to do some more things there. And then I also do similar things, like with my mom. They came up last year, and they came up, and we got a home here in Kissimmee, and then the whole family, all my aunts, everybody came up, and we spent the whole 5 days together, and just had a good time. So those are the type of things that I like to do and enjoy doing, is spending time with family and building those memories, because those are things that I continue to talk about, and I know the family continue to talk about, because the different things that occur on those type of trips and spending time with each other.
yeah, quality time is one of those things you can't really put a
Yes.
price tag on.
Mm-mm.
Like time is the one thing you can't get back or make more of. So when you give it to people, it's special.
That's so true. Yep. That is so true.
So can you tell me about a time that maybe things fell apart or didn't work out and how you handled it?
Let's see. A time where things didn't work out. I mean, there's many. It's just a matter of me narrowing down what's things didn't work out. I'm trying to think of one. I can't really think of one on the top of my head, but so this might be a little general.
That's okay. Or we can go back to
because I'm one of those. Okay, yeah, 'cause I don't have anything in mind. Generally, I'm one of those people that constantly make lemonade out of lemons. So, and those around me would say the same. Like sometimes, something would come and it'll be like, "Hey, you didn't get this, or this didn't happen. This opportunity you went after." And I'm like, "Okay, when one door closes, another still open." So I'm like, that one may not have been the one for me. So that's generally how I am when there are shut doors or things don't go the way that I'm planned. I know that it's for a reason. And then I just keep it moving.
Yeah. Awesome. If you could see into the future, what does nonprofit Enthusiast look like 20 years from now?
Well, 20 years from now, we'll continue to be a full service. We've been fortunate to be able to serve nonprofits throughout the United States. So we've served them throughout the United States with the focus on contracts within 9 states. So my hopes is that we will have contracts in all 50 states. And that was within our first year when we had the 9 states. So I would say we'll have contracts in all 50 states, and just being able to support the communities throughout the U.S.
That would be amazing. And I don't think it's even going to take close to 20 years. Like, it sounds like you guys are on a roll. Like, that was year 1.
Right. Yes, that was year 1. So now we're like, we even talked about building a map and starting to pin those maps so that way we can target, our other states. So yeah.
That sounds fun. How do you celebrate your wins?
I'm a foodie. So
you're a foodie? Okay, so what kind of food is it? If you got to celebrate, what's your go-to?
I'm just going to normally I'm going somewhere new that I haven't been before. So I like to just go out and eat. That's my that whenever there's a win, I'm like, let's just go here and eat. I do have some staples that I'll go to if I really can't think of anywhere, but there's so much different restaurants around. We're normally trying somewhere new. So food is my celebration. So it's like, let's go grab something to eat here. Or, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I definitely like good food too, so I don't blame you. Food is a
Yes.
celebration.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is there anything that I have not asked you'd like to talk more about?
Not that I can think of. I think we touched on quite a bit. You even took me back to my 10-year-old self. Quite a bit.
Well, I think it's important for people to kind of like get a feel for like career trajectories and how sometimes we map this thing out in our mind. And like you said, remember to be flexible and take different opportunities and different routes. So for me, I always like ask those kinds of questions kind of to reflect, because I mean, what I thought I was going to do when I was 10 and how my life has unfolded is drastically different. But I think it's important to have those examples and references so that people know the career paths aren't linear and that your career is not your identity. Like it's something you do. And it might bring you joy and passion, but like you said, you spend time with your family. That's what you like to do. Go with your mani petty. Like this is all of the stuff that makes up your life and makes your life rich and enjoyable.
Mm-hmm. That's so true. Yeah, and I'm glad that you asked that question, because sometimes you don't take a pause to think back as to what would you ask your 10-year-old self, or what or even to reflect. It is important to take a pause and kind of think about reflect back. So yes, thank you.
Definitely. So Lasheena, if people want to get in touch with you, where can they find you?
They can find all of the ways to get in touch with me at www.nonprofitenthusiast.com. There you'll find our Facebook pages, you'll find our Instagram, LinkedIn. We also have a Facebook group on Facebook. When you type in Nonprofit Enthusiast, where we give away free resources to nonprofit organizations. So through nonprofitenthusiast.com, you'll be able to connect to all those different areas that you can connect with me on.
So, friends, if you were looking for someone to help you get that nonprofit started that you've been dreaming about and scribbling about for the last 5-10 years, Lasheena is the person you need to talk to. She can help you get it done. If you were in a place with your nonprofit where you're trying to figure out growth strategy in the next phase, she is someone who can help you. She's been doing this for over a decade. She is certified and enthusiastic.